Results of any investments made by a listener to this program.
This is The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary is a San Diego financial solutions attorney, protecting people like you. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future. Now, here's Gary.
Happy Monday and welcome to The Word on Wealth. Have you ever heard of such terms as the, Medicare Advantage, Medicare? You've heard about the Scripps disaster that's going on with the Medicare people, 32,000 people losing their coverage, things like that. Well, one of the things is we have got there's an annual enrollment period that ends like in 3 days. And we want to talk about that. To do that, we have my show partner on Mondays, and that is Jim Robeson, the Medicare Answer guy. If you want to get a hold of Jim, just remember it is super easy, themedicareanswerguy.com. And you go on there, you click the information. There's a link that lets you set an appointment with him, and then you can meet with him and talk to him about your Medicare needs, or listen to the show, or do both. Jim, how are you today, man?
Well, Gary, have you ever run a marathon?
I have not run a marathon. I've ridden a marathon.
Good.
No, I mean, it was 6.5 hours. It was a 6.5 hour race. I literally rode my mountain bike in a race for 6.5 hours straight. So yeah, I know.
So you know what it feels like when you're almost at the end. We're at 20 miles and runners hit the wall. I remember running a marathon. This is years ago in Hawaii. And I turned the corner ready to finish my 5 and whatever miles. And I saw about 50 people lying on the ground with a needle in their arm trying to get hydrated because they were just exhausted.
Wow.
That's what it feels like, this annual enrollment period. We're coming to the end, and it has been, oh my goodness, what a trip.
Well, there's so much going on with it. When we talk about this, I think it's hard for some people to swallow, because they think, oh, it's Medicare's government, and government takes care of us during the pandemic. Everything that was screwed up, the government just swooped in and they did loans and whatever. So it's got to be that way with Medicare. And I think people are really struggling, and the numbers show this. They're really struggling to believe that as of January 1st, which is just literally not even a month away, 32,000 people, or a huge portion of 32,000 people, are going to wake up and not have any coverage. And I just don't think people can believe it, but it's happening.
Well, they will have coverage, but they probably, if they haven't made any changes, they are not going to be able to see their Scripps Clinic or Scripps Coastal doctor. They're going to be referred to a totally different doctor. And if they're in the middle of some kind of, continuing care, that's going to be an issue. And over the last 6 weeks, Gary, what I'm learning and what I'm hearing from people, not my clients, but others, they haven't made any changes. They really don't have the assurance of what plan they have, and they're very, very confused. And this is concerning to me, because most of them are in their 70s, 80s, and some in their early 90s. And fortunately, their children, their adult children, are helping them navigate this. But the other thing that I'm finding, Gary, is that even if we make some changes to a different Medicare Advantage plan, and many of them are doing this, these medical groups are running out of space. They're not accepting new clients or new patients. So that's another issue.
What a mess. And it happened only a few short months ago, the announcement. So the thing that would concern me if I were in that position, and luckily I am not, and neither are my parents, because they don't have Medicare anymore. They've passed away. But the thing that would concern me is not knowing how to navigate the Medicare maze, and not knowing what is true, and what I'm getting in the mail is it an advertisement or somebody really trying to help me. And I think it would be virtually impossible. In fact, I think it's foolish to not have your own agent, like Jim Robeson, the Medicare Answer guy, especially during a time like this when things are just really changing. And I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's no way it's going to get better.
Well, and it is. Fortunately, there's another enrollment period that starts in January and goes January, February, and March. And for those of our listeners who are part of that 32,000 that are going to lose their Scripps Clinic and Scripps Coastal doctors, there's going to be one more chance starting January 1st. If you miss the December 1st deadline of the annual enrollment period, you're going to have to wait a couple of weeks until January 1st when the open enrollment period will allow you to make one final change to a plan that you're comfortable with. And but hopefully they'll do that sooner than later.
So the way to do that, I mean, because you were telling me there's a couple of different tricks to do it, but the main thing is to get someone like you that knows what they're talking about so that you can kind of help them with all the little options that are available. And that was my understanding. And I want to talk about that in a minute. I just want people to have your contact information. If you're going to try to call Jim, it's really kind of difficult because he's got a lot going on. We got the annual enrollment period ending in like a couple of days. And if you're hearing this show after that, then hopefully you're going to hang on until you get the open enrollment period rather than the annual enrollment period. So to get a hold of Jim, the easiest way is go to themedicareanswerguy.com and then go to the contact link, as in contact Jim, and then you can get on his calendar. Shows his calendar. You can get into a 15-minute block and be able to ask those questions. themedicareanswerguy.com. We're going to have to go into a quick break, but Jim, what I want to know when we get back is how to secure a Medicare agent, like a person like you, and kind of what help that would be. And then I want to talk about, if you have, what assurances do people have that the plan they have now is going to be something that's going to go on into the future? And so they can just kind of relax because they've got a plan, is locked in place, it's never going to change. Because I think people want that more now than ever. And yet they think that the Advantage plan was the thing that was a permanent insurance. But we know, and you've told us many times, that's not permanent insurance. It's going to be at the whim of the change of direction, change of government, whatever, and your Medicare Advantage plan could go away, just like it did for the 32,000 people with Scripps and Scripps Coastal. So that's the kind of thing we're going to talk about coming up next. You're listening to The Word on Wealth. To be part of the show and call in directly, you can call 888-344-1170, 888-344-1170, and remember to go to themedicareanswerguy.com.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQLaw.com.
You're saving and investing for the future, and that's good. Have you ever stopped to think, where does my money actually go? This is Faith-Based Investing with Anthony Wright.
Most Christian families don't understand this one thing. The money that you're saving for retirement helps fund the abortion industry as well as other liberal anti-family causes. It's the sad, dirty little secret of American investing world. And here's the good news, though. You probably also didn't know that just a few minutes of your time, and we'll screen and clean your investments for you. There's no cost, no obligation. Learn the truth about your own investment mix. Then the choice is yours. Remember, the word says when God's money is in the hands of the righteous, the people rejoice. Well, we also are fiduciary investment advisor representatives. That means that our firm makes a pledge to always act in your best interest. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com. Download a free copy of my book, Faith-Based Investing, or call me at 931-RETIRED. And please don't forget, listen to Faith-Based Investing this weekend right here on Family Talk.
So, Gary, we've talked a long time about estate administration. So, what is that and why is it important?
Estate administration is the distribution part of estate planning. So when someone passes away and they leave money to beneficiaries, the property has to be administered. So it's like taking it from the decedent to the survivor. That's called the estate administration process. So usually you're going to have a successor trustee that's named in the trust. They'll have no idea what they're doing because they've never done it before. So then they call on GQ Law and we walk them step by step on how to be a successful and good successor trustee. We also do the required notifications. We notify the Department of Health Services and all the legal requirements so that they can have the estate administration done properly. We help successor trustees be successful.
Call or click to request your free consultation. GQLaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, GQLaw.com.
Who will you trust with the biggest financial decision of your lifetime? If you're planning to buy or sell a home in San Diego County, do what I do and work with the true San Diego real estate experts. Ken Pecos and the Pecos Group helped me and my family. They can help you. This is Gary Quackenbush of The Word on Wealth. You hear Ken every week here on The Word on Wealth. He's our expert. He's got integrity, exceptional service, deep knowledge of the San Diego, Coronado, and South Bay regions. These are just some of the reasons that Ken Pecos has completed hundreds of transactions. He manages a powerful team of professionals at the Pecos Group. From single-family attached homes to luxury high-value waterfront properties to apartment buildings, Ken Pecos is ready to help you avoid problems and costly mistakes. Learn more online at kenpecos.com. That's Ken Pecos, Pecus.com. Or call 619-977-8419.
DRE number 010566969, brokered by eXp Realty.
Did you know that chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD,
Call Gary and the team at GQ Law 855-500-TRUST or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's GQLaw.com 855-500-TRUST.
All right. So if you have Medicare or a Medicare Advantage plan and you don't have an agent, you don't have somebody that's representing you, I am highly recommending that you get one. And the one that I do recommend is my partner on Mondays on this show right here on The Word on Wealth, and that's Jim Robeson. We've got Jim for this hour to be able to ask him the questions about Medicare that we need to know so that hopefully you'll figure out that he's a good guy. You can go to themedicareanswerguy.com and get in contact with him. It's really hard to get a hold of agents now because there's just a lot going on with the annual enrollment period ending and the open enrollment period coming up and with all the changes going on, but get an agent. So I'm asking Jim, I wanted to know what's really the difference now? I mean, I think people I've talked to people about this and they say, well, I've got a Medicare Advantage plan. I don't ever have to think about it. It's all taken care of for me. So I don't really need a Medicare agent. So there's two questions that come up as I say, well, if you don't need a Medicare agent, are you willing to check into it? And they say, well, I can't afford an agent because things are tight. So I want you to talk about that. What's the advantage of having a Medicare agent? And then how does that get paid for?
First, I want to clarify, if our listeners aren't on Medicare, but they will be coming off an employer plan, they're 65 coming off an employer plan next year, or in the coming months, or they're brand new to Medicare, there is no, final date. All of that is totally different. So you can rest. But if you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, we call that a temporary plan because it's subsidized by the government. And the whole issue with Scripps Clinic and Scripps Coastal is there wasn't enough money in the subsidy for them to continue to offer services to 32,000 people and still make a profit. So they pulled out. That's a temporary plan. Why do you need a broker? You don't need a broker. But I can tell you after doing this, specializing in this for 15 years, there are so many changes coming down the road. And again, as I mentioned earlier, most of the people I talk to that don't have a broker really don't know what they have. And with so many changes going on, whether it's deductibles and percentages and whether your doctor's accepting new patients, I don't like talking to insurance companies. I can't imagine anybody would, but that's what we do. And we don't charge a fee. We earn a very small commission from the insurance company. And I love what I do. Now, one thing about the Medicare Supplement Plan, that's a permanent plan. That plan never changes. It's not subsidized by the government. You pay a premium and you get a policy that basically pays 100% in and out of the hospital. Now, unfortunately, that door is closed as far as coming off a Medicare Advantage plan onto a Medicare Supplement plan. Why? Because there's certain steps that you need to take in order to show the insurance company that you're no longer on your Medicare Advantage plan. And that's about 3 to 4 weeks. And I've had a number of people call wanting to do that. And I had to tell them, we can do that all right. As long as you understand that you probably won't get your ID card with your Medicare supplement until the very last week of December and possibly into January. Do you want to put yourself in that situation where you're not sure if you have coverage or not? Because your Medicare Advantage plan will terminate the end of December. So that's a conversation for a different time. Really, what's available now is another Medicare Advantage plan that's subsidized, and we still offer a lot of different companies with a lot of different medical groups. Those are shrinking. Those are available. And also, most recently, a Medicare Advantage PPO plan that will allow you to keep your Scripps doctor. Just came on the scene and available just a couple of weeks ago. However, we only have 3 days. And unfortunately, for many, many people, because they didn't have an agent, or they don't, and it's just overwhelming, we're running out of time. Now, we do have open enrollment. OEP starts January 1st. Medicare supplements on a guaranteed issue basis are no longer available. The only option, if you are one of our listeners, if you're going to lose your Scripps Clinic and Scripps Coastal doctor January 1st, and you want to stay with a Medicare Advantage PPO plan, you can do that before December 7th, or you're going to have to wait until January 1st for that opportunity. So those are the choices.
Okay. So as far as like somebody that is on an employer plan, whether they're 65, well, if they're 65 or over, they're on an employer plan, then they wouldn't be looking for a Medicare supplement plan or Medicare Advantage because they are covered by their employer. But if they're coming off of that, if they're retiring, getting out of that, now they're no longer going to be covered. That's the first time they apply for Medicare. That can happen all year, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
As if you're just turning 65, that's a totally different enrollment period. So those people can take a breath. But the issue remains. If you want a Medicare Advantage plan and right now under your employer plan, you can see scripts. That's not affected under a group health insurance or individual. But once you go on Medicare Advantage HMO plans are not available if you want to use Scripps clinics. The only thing that will be available is the Medicare Advantage PPO plan, which is a hybrid between a Medicare SUP or a Medigap plan and a Medicare HMO plan. It works totally different. It's a little confusing, but once people understand how it works, it's an option because here's what it boils down to, Gary. And I've had a couple of people who really want the Medicare supplement. They can afford the premium, but the medicine that they're taking on a standalone drug plan, which they'll also have to enroll in, the cost of the Medicare prescription drug plan has changed significantly. Why? Because the insurance companies have to pay more. So the premiums on these standalone plans, they're going up by 30, 40, 50, in some cases 100%. Everything is changing. And I've had a couple of people say, I really want to be on a Medicare supplement plan, but the cost of my drugs is way too expensive. So I've got to stay on a Medicare Advantage plan. If that's your situation, you only have one option, and that's a Medicare Advantage. Why? Because Medicare Advantage plans, where it's HMO or PPO, they don't have a premium and they don't have deductibles. And they're much more competitive. The prescription part of those two plans are much more competitive than a standalone drug plan.
Okay.
It's complicated. Can you imagine not having a broker and trying to figure this stuff out?
No,
That's why, I feel like I've run a marathon just trying to, navigate literally over 150 people in the last 6 weeks. Incredible.
And I know you're doing a good job for them and helping them. Wow, that sounds incredible. So the nice thing is if it's somebody like, that's covered under their employer, don't contact Jim yet. You wait until later, but wait till we get through the open enrollment period. But in the meantime, these guys, especially a lot of the Scripps Coastal, they're going to run out of their plan. That's just so sad. Because I know, with it seems like with any of the big companies, like you have Scripps and Kaiser and Sharp and all these big organizations, they all have, at least depending on which part of them, they've all allowed Advantage plans. And then you have something like Scripps Coastal that says, no, we're not going to do that anymore. So it would seem to me like if that's happened with Scripps and they're huge, that there's going to be other companies that are going to do the same thing and say, you know what, we're not going to take Advantage plans either. And we're going to have to swap out. Is that likely to happen?
Well, it's happening across the United States.
Okay.
And it really depends on how well the medical group is managing their health care, because they only have so much subsidy to pay for the hospital stays, outside the hospital, the prescription drug, and then the medical groups. So, the 4 largest medical groups are Kaiser, Scripps, UCSD, and Sharp. Now, Kaiser, I don't think you'll ever run out of doctors. That's just the way they operate. They're all over the place. The other large medical groups, they still have doctors, but they're few and far between. And there's got to be, I would say, another 15 to 20 other medical groups throughout San Diego County, smaller ones, that doctors are available, whether you live in Vista, Ocean,
1 minute,
San Marcos, Escondido, out in El Cajon. They're still medical groups, but unfortunately for 32,000 people, Scripps Clinic and Scripps Coastal are not available for the next 12 months. Now, who knows? They may change their mind, or that's the point. It's temporary. We're not sure what it's going to look like next year.
All right. So basically,
that helps.
Well, it does help. And I think I think the answer is go to the MedicareAnswerGuy.com, get an agent, make that Jim so that he can help you go through it, because it's just not something you should do on your own. You have a lawyer, you have a doctor, you need a Medicare agent, and do that with Jim, the MedicareAnswerGuy.com. Jim, thank you very much. Good luck, man. Keep running the marathon. You're almost there.
Buddy.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
We'll be back in a minute here on The Word on Wealth.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. We're here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST.
Have today's economic conditions and high inflation made it difficult for you in retirement? Hi, I'm Shane Sletter, the mortgage advisor on The Word on Wealth. You hear me with Gary Quackenbush, answering your questions every Tuesday at 2 p.m. For over 20 years in San Diego, I've specialized in home financing solutions for seniors as they get older and their families. If you qualify, a reverse mortgage allows you to convert part of your home equity into either a lump sum, line of credit, or much needed monthly income. You're insured and protected against ever owing more than the value of your home. And you don't have to sell your home, give up title, or get new conventional mortgage financing with monthly payments. The program is designed to make it easier for seniors to qualify. I will walk you through every step of the process. To receive a free reverse mortgage guide by mail, text REVERSE to 858-683-1716, or give me a call on my direct number, 858-683-1716.
Licensed with the state of California. NMLS ID number 239958. DRE number 01174642.
Tell a friend about this broadcast outreach, The Word on Wealth, with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
Welcome to The Word on Wealth. Let's talk about what happens. Mom passes away, and then later dad passes away, and you have a successor trustee that is not doing their job, and you're so frustrated you don't want to do. That's what we're going to be talking about in this segment. If you have questions for me, the number is 888-344-1170, 888-344-1170. You can ask me, Attorney Gary Quackenbush, your question about estates, trust administration, probate. We're going to be talking about that for the next little while, a couple segments here. So you got time to call in, get on the phone, 888-344-1170, and we can answer your questions. That's going to be the idea. So here is the situation. There's an example. So we have mom. Mom passed away 8 years ago. Dad passed away 2 years ago. Sister is the successor trustee, and all is quiet. So from a beneficiary perspective, the beneficiary is asking me, is that normal for all to be quiet? Mom and dad have both been gone for 2 years. I always ask, what is in the estate? Is there a trust? The answer is yes, there is a trust. Great. That's awesome. And is there anything in the trust? And the answer is yes. There is the home, the family home that's been in the trust, for a very long time. It was in there before mom passed away. It was in there before dad passed away a couple of years ago. And then the second thing is, what other assets do they have? The answer is they have an investment account with about $250,000 in it. That is named in the trust. Okay. There's an annuity, and the annuity of about $300,000 has a beneficiary designation on it. And it says it was on dad, that when dad passed away, the beneficiary of the annuity is the successor trustee of the family trust. The fourth thing is life insurance. Life insurance, the beneficiary was all 3 children. Okay, so we're going to address those one at a time. First of all, is it okay that everything is all quiet since dad died 2 years ago? The answer is no. Heck no. Absolutely not. Because there are things that need to be done that successor trustee needs to do very shortly after death. One, if there was an original will, it needs to be deposited with the California probate court. That means mailed, sent, messengered, taken, whatever. It gets filed with the probate court, so there's public record of the will. And that is if there's an original will. If there isn't, then there's no requirement. But the idea is to get the original will on file so that it now becomes a public record. Number 2, if it is all quiet, that's bad, because sister, successor trustee, was required by law within 60 days of the date of the second death, dad's death. She's required to send a copy of the terms of the trust to the beneficiaries, which would be herself, her brother, and her other sister. So the 3 kids should have received notice of the terms of the trust within 60 days, and the trust itself. Okay, there's a different procedure, but you have to send the trust to everybody. You have to mail one to yourself, or at least put that you gave one to yourself, and then you got to mail one or get it by personal service to the brother and the sister. Okay, and it's until that's done that it hasn't even started, right? Because the next thing you've got to do is figure out, what money is in the estate. When dad stopped living, when he died, his social security number is no longer usable. So anything that was kept under his social security number or mom's social security number can no longer be used. The trustee has to go to the IRS and get a tax ID number. That tax ID number is going to be the number under which everything is done. So you get the tax ID number from the IRS, you set up a bank account, and you put money in the bank account. So if you have any money or any assets that are sold, you stick it in there. The investment account needs to be changed from mom and dad's name using their social security numbers to another investment account. Can be the same brokerage house, can be the same investments. And this gets really technical, but you can set up a brokerage account and move everything in kind straight over to the account that's in the name of the trust. But it has to be done. Okay, in the example we're using, 2 years ago was the last parent, which was dad, died. There's no tax ID number, we don't think, because sister has not saying anything. We know the property hasn't been titled because we can check on the county recorder's office, and there's no change in title. So there's some things that are not being done that really need to be done. Okay. But let's just jump to life insurance. Life insurance. If the life insurance is titled in the name of the 3 beneficiaries, then they have the right to go and get their 1/3. So in answering this question, I would say if you believe the life insurance was in the name of all 3 of the brothers and sisters, then go to the life insurance company with a copy of your dad's death certificate. And yeah, because it's his policy, and show them that he has passed away and that you are a beneficiary, and they'll give you your 1/3. They don't care about your sisters. It's not like you have to go in all at the same time. That's something that you would handle independently. In fact, it's something that the successor trustee, even though they're cool and powerful, the successor trustee does not have authority to go and basically cash the life insurance in and give it to you. If you're the beneficiary, you're the one that goes into the life insurance company with your proof and get your share. You don't have to worry about sisters at the same time. You just get your 1/3 if that's what the thing says. Okay, so now you've got all these properties. You got this money. You have set up a tax ID number and an account. What about this house? Okay, the house is not vacant. That's kind of the continuation of this problem. Sister has been living in the house for 2 years since dad passed away. Now, understandably, she was there taking care of mom and dad. She's been there for several years. And now, like, to have her move out immediately, that seems really rude and inconsiderate. But the trust document does not provide her a space to stay. It doesn't say she can stay in the house for as long as she wants. So now we have to figure out, is sister moving out soon enough, or is she causing the trust loss? Okay. While mom and dad were alive, they could give her permission to live in the house without paying any rent or for paying any food or utilities or anything. They can do that as long as they're alive and competent. I guess that would be competent, right? As long as they're competent, they could do that. Once they're not competent, couldn't make any legal decisions, then they really can't consent to that. If she's there living in the house and using the utilities and eating the food and whatever, okay, we've got that. That may happen. But that's with permission. Okay, does that make sense? So it's with permission of her parents that she's living there. When they die, the permission goes away. It doesn't just linger. We have to go in the trust and see if the trust provides anything that says, yeah, sister can live there for the next 5 years. Because some parents will do that. They'll say, whoever's taking care of us as, at the date of our death, if they're living in the house and taking care of us and providing reasonable care, they can live in the house for 2 years, but then they got to get out or the house has to be sold. They can do that. But in this case, like most people, they didn't put any provisions like that in their trust because you're not sure when you set up a living trust. Are you sure about, are you going to need home care? Who knows? But it wasn't done. So now sister's been there for 2 years. Technically, sister owes money to the trust because
2 minutes.
Ultimately, she's going to own 1/3 of the house. So ultimately, she can get credit for her 1/3 ownership, but there's 2/3 that is owned technically by sister and brother. So she's supposed to be paying 2/3 of fair market value if she's going to continue to live there. So can you see some of the problems that we get after parents pass away? If it's not written into the trust that the caretaker child can stay in that property, they have to leave. And if they cause damage or they cause a problem, then he could be charged with that. Charged, not like criminal charges, but charged with, money. If it costs money to fix something that you messed up, then it's going to come out of your share typically. So with trust and trust administration, it's a big deal to get it right. I was talking to my associate today about, I think the biggest thing for families really should be, they should be required if they're going through a trust administration, they should be required to get family therapy.
1 minute.
So many times there's so much pressure and so much stress with all the kids that you just don't know which end is up. And successor trustees, they do the best they can. I think I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but man, like in this situation, if it's been quiet for 2 years, that's way too long. Because what's happening with the stuff? Is the house still in good shape? Is the car being driven? Is it insured? What happens if the house burned down? What if there's an injury on the property? Is the house still insured? And I've seen situations where the house, the house wasn't even insured anymore. That's scary because what if the house burned down or there's a problem? You lose the house, the only asset, and now nobody gets anything. So you can't mess with this stuff. When the trustees got their job, they got to do it right. what I'm going to talk about. And if you want my help with this, I can help the trustees and the beneficiaries. I've been doing it for 35 years. 855-500-TRUST, 855-500-TRUST. Coming up next, how do you preserve the trust? What is your loyal obligation? Who's your loyalty to as a successor trustee? Coming up next here on The Word on Wealth.
Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
So, Gary, we've talked a long time about estate administration. So what is that and why is it important?
Estate administration is the distribution part of estate planning. So when someone passes away and they leave money to beneficiaries, the property has to be administered. So it's like taking it from the decedent to the survivor. That's called the estate administration process. So usually you're going to have a successor trustee that's named in the trust. So have no idea what they're doing because they've never done it before. So then they call on GQ Law and we walk them step by step on how to be a successful and good successor trustee. We also do the required notifications. We notify the Department of Health Services and all the legal requirements so that they can have the estate administration done properly. We help successor trustees be successful.
Call or click to request your free consultation. GQlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
Imagine you're a lonely single teenage mom saying to yourself, I have nothing for this baby. Imagine trying to survive and struggling just to put clothes on your newborn. Right here in San Diego County, a volunteer outreach organization collects and distributes new and gently used clothing, blankets, and more. And it meets the heartfelt needs for community, dignity, and hope. Discover Gently Hugged. Learn more. Give and volunteer now at gentlyhugged.org.
The Christmas Mortgage Miracle is back.
Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's GQlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
Hey, during the holidays, if you're feeling generous, which I hope you are, there's an organization in San Diego that helps clothe babies in the first year of their life. I was surprised to find out about this organization, Gently Hugged, gentlyhugged.org. It's an organization that basically lines up people that have money and clothing for babies with mothers that are having babies with no clothing or money. There's a big need. It's bigger than you think here in San Diego. Sometimes it's going to be military families that are really struggling. It'll be families that just really are, it's an underserved population. They just don't have enough money to, they have their baby and that all works out, but then taking the baby home, there's really nothing. This organization, Gently Hugged, they can't believe it, in one pouch that they create, they put together a kit that has enough clothing, like the onesies, those one-piece underwear things, enough onesies, enough clothing, including a board book and a blanket for the first year of the kid's life. So literally clothing from preemie to 1-year-old, whatever the size, that's provided in this kit. So they have enough to get through the first year with clothing. gentlyhug.org. If you go to their website, it's really, the way it's set up is really cute. They've just done a good job. This organization, it's local. It is a really low overhead because it's all volunteers, and there's a lot of volunteers that make it run. And they've given away the statistic last time I met with Judy, the founder, they've given away about 900 bags. So 900 mommies have gone home with clothing for their child when they otherwise wouldn't have had it. So do gentlyhug.org. If you want to give any money, give clothing, get involved, gentlyhug.org. If you come to my office, if you make an appointment with me, when you come in, if you want, we have a Gently Hugged box, a donation box in our office. You can drop off. It's like anything that a kid would need in the first year. So it's going to be the onesies or little shirts or clothing or booties or, whatever those kids have. Just on your way in, just grab some stuff off of a shelf. It'll be probably the first time you shop for infant clothes and ages. Just do that, bring it and drop it in the donation box on your way in the office, gentlyhugged.org. All right. Thanks, everybody. The issue we want to address now is what the successor trustee's job is as a trustee of a trust. If you're the successor trustee, then that means that the creators of the trust are probably both dead or they are both incapacitated. So now they can't make any legal decisions. They don't have the mental capacity to do that any longer. So now you, as the successor trustee, have an obligation, and the obligation is referred to as a fiduciary duty. Fiduciary duties are, it's a duty, it's a higher duty that you have to the beneficiaries of this trust and to the trust itself. It's a higher duty than you have to yourself. It's a higher duty than you have to your own kids and family. Because if you accept the task to serve as the successor trustee, mom and dad passed away, and now you say, yes, they nominated me, I'm going to do it. You now have a fiduciary duty. Whether you know what that is or not, whether you've ever done it before, whether you're a professional, whether you're an amateur, it doesn't matter. You're all held to this high standard, meaning you account for every penny that gets spent, and all decisions are done with the intent of not losing any value in any assets. So that would mean a multitude of things. One, if your job is to preserve the assets of the trust, then you're not going to risk the money and put it in some crazy investment that for a fact is going to crank out and make a whole bunch of money. Probably too risky for a fiduciary. So what you do is you want to hire somebody else so that somebody else will be taking that responsibility. You hire a person that is a financial manager and you let them manage that money. You let them deal with it. You let them make sure that that money is in a fiduciary responsible account making money. If you make zero, that could potentially be a breach of your fiduciary duty. If you make way too much, that could be a breach of your fiduciary duty because the money is too much at risk. And fiduciary financial planners, they understand this and they can advise you. So don't do it yourself unless you are a professional financial planner. Okay. So you hire somebody to do that. The other thing, as far as like trying to preserve the assets of the trust, not investing overly aggressively or overly wimpily, if that's a word, is, what about preserving the asset with insurance? Now, what I found, and like in the example we've been talking about, this would be mom and dad died a couple of years ago. Sister still lives there and refuses to get out. Well, the challenge, one of them is going to be, what if that house gets in trouble? What if sister has money problems and she files for bankruptcy? Could she potentially lose the house? What if sister got sued because she didn't have her own car insurance or something happened? Can the trust be in trouble? And those are all potentials. It's unlikely while the money is, the property is still in the trust, if the trust was drafted properly and had spendthrift provisions, but you really don't want to get in that situation. What you see sometimes, what I've seen sometimes, is that the longer sister lives there, the insurance company basically doesn't have any idea that mom and dad have died because they were never told. And now when it comes time for a claim and sister says, yeah, I'm going to submit a claim because somebody was jumping over our fence and slit his leg open and he's suing us, the insurance company is going to look at it and go, who are you? Well, I'm the successor trustee. Of who? Of mom and dad named so-and-so. And the insurance company says, yeah, where are they? They've died. When did they die? Well, about 2 years ago. Why didn't you notify us? The policy requires that. You didn't tell us that they were dead. We didn't know that we're insuring two people that are deceased. What's going on with that? And it is likely that you won't get coverage. Okay. You can see the problem with that. As the successor trustee, you take on this responsibility of being financially responsible now for somebody else's stuff to benefit somebody else. Then if you do it wrong, you could really get yourself in trouble. What I usually do is I suggest that you find an attorney that knows what they're doing, that has done this for a long time and knows exactly what they're doing, and hire them. And that way they can help figure out, navigate all the problems that can come up with the trust administration, distribution, all that stuff. But you've got to keep in mind, as the successor trustee, you've got to preserve the assets. Okay. What is a reasonable time then? If you're the trustee and you're trying to preserve the assets and be a good person and do your thing, how fast can I get my money if I'm a beneficiary? Good question. Well, technically, the law says that if there's a specific distribution, like it says, okay, I give $1,000 to my grandchild, or give my car to so-and-so, or my tools to so-and-so, or $100,000 to so-and-so, those are specific bequests. They're specifically giving a dollar amount or a thing to a person. Those typically the court is going to require that they be distributed within a year of death. So if you're taking longer and it's been over a year, you could potentially get in trouble, because now what is it costing? What is it costing the estate to have that, the money go so slowly? Or is there any damage? Is there any problem? If there's not, you're not in trouble. If there is, you can bet somebody's going to come after you. So the idea is to act within a year. And that a lot of people go, oh, Gary, are you serious? A year? Yeah. What about the rest of the stuff? Well, it's not uncommon to have a trust that goes a year or 2 years in trying to distribute assets, and it depends on the complexity. If there's real property that has to be sold and it's rented, somehow you have to deal with the renters, the tenants, and then you got to put the property up for sale and deal with the tenants. And then once the property is sold, then you still have to deal with the tenants. But sometimes it takes a while, and sometimes it takes a year, year and a half, 2 years to sell a piece of property because there's a lot of other issues going on. But as long as you're acting reasonably, moving along at a good clip, and you're not just sitting on it, then the trustees really have, or the beneficiaries really have nothing to complain about. Okay. So that's the thing with a successor trustee. And I want you to keep in mind, if you are a successor trustee, you've got to act, or you have to get out of the way and say, I can't do it. Let my sister do it because she's the next one in line. If there's nobody that's next in line, you got to do it. Even if you are an only child, you still have to do the administration process. It's going to all go to you ultimately, but there's still some cleanup and stuff. All right. So reasonable time distribution, as far as making sure everything is taken care of, it's going to be, is the trustee acting reasonably? Did they actually buy homeowners insurance? Did they actually buy coverage? Something that's going to be able to help them out. And if they did, that's a great thing. If they didn't, then that might become a problem. So those are the things we're looking for. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to make sure that we understand is how to hold the trustee's feet to the fire. Okay. And if you're the trustee, this is how you keep people from holding your feet to the fire. You do it yourself, right? You do the notification. You got to get a copy of the actual trust, the original trust. You can't have a copy of a copy. That's not legal. So you got to make sure that in your hands is the original trust. And that way you can use it to make copies. Okay.
2 minutes.
So you want to make sure that everything is like totally laid out, and you give everybody the notification. And if you don't, then this waiting period is going to go on and on. So the notification that you give to the beneficiaries, it gives them 120 days to request the actual trust. And once they've got the actual trust, which, why wait for them to request it? Just give it to them. I always include a letter that says, hey, we have to give you the terms of the trust. We're going to do better than that. Here's the trust. And it gives them 120 days to object. If they object to the terms of the trust, then we're going to be dealing with it. Okay. So, but that is what puts everybody on notice, is the the notification, and then they can do the objection if they want. They might run the risk of running afoul of the disinheritance clause. So you got to be careful as a beneficiary. If you're going to say, oh yeah, I got this notice that says I can contest the trust.
1 minute.
It still may be something you cannot do. The notice is just required by law. If you want help with that kind of stuff, just let me do it. 855-500 trust. We've been doing it here at GQ Law for decades, and we're happy to keep doing it for you. 855-500 trust. All right. Tomorrow, I just want to kind of run quickly. Tomorrow, we've got Shane Sletter talking about mortgages and reverse mortgages and getting money out of your home, which is awesome. Then on Wednesday, we've got Ken Pecos, our real estate guru. Thursday, Anthony Wright, our financial guru. And Friday, Finding Joy Friday here on the Word on Wealth. Thanks for being along with us today. I hope you enjoyed your time. And we will talk to you tomorrow, same time, same station, with Shane Sletter, the mortgage guy, right here on the Word on Wealth. Talk to you tomorrow, everybody. Give me a call, 855-500-TRUST, and I'll help you out. Talk to you later.
Tell a friend about the Word on Wealth, featured since 1995. With financial solutions attorney Gary Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future.
The information you hear on the Word on Wealth is for general information purposes only. This program discusses general financial